Hey Hebrew fans, this is Todd. So today I'm going to take this figure right here and I'm going to find out how I'm going to take his cuff off and I'm going to put it on this custom figure I made last night. Now this custom figure last night I made, I'm actually pretty happy with. He's really cool and I already got one of the cuffs on there as you can see, just like that one. I put one on this side too. But I thought, you know what, to make him a little different, I want to use the cross version He-Man armor instead of the asterisk. And I want to make this cuff on both arms, not just, so it kind of change the stylize a little bit. Because you notice I kind of changed his belt and gave him the style without the extra fanny pack. So to make it even more different, I want to use this same cuff on both arms. I think it'd kind of a cool look. That way he's not exactly like 2000X, but it still has 2000X elements. So to do this, I'm going to use these giant scissors here to slice his arm. And then I'm going to use this Dremel tool right here with some various bits. First, this bit right here to sand off the majority of the skin on the cuff. And then these smaller ones right here to get deep inside the cuff and reshape it so I can actually use it to fit over He-Man's forearm. And then, in order to get it off, inside this right here, I'm going to have a cup of hot water. And that hot water is going to be used to soften the plastic. When I'm all done, I'm going to finish it up with some silver paint, and this will make it look more like I want. You'll notice in these first release He-Man figures, the silver has a slight yellowing to it, and I kind of don't want that effect. I want it just silver. So even the ones that I did last night, I did put a silver base paint over it. You can kind of see the difference, how one has a slight yellow tint and one's just straight silver. Now, if you like the yellow tint, you can go and leave it that way. I personally like to make it silver. So another style design too I like is I like this part pointing towards the elbow, or pointing towards the pin on the side as opposed to the back. In the original style, they actually had it pointing straight down, but on a front view, it just looks really strange to have it on the back of the arm. So I actually like it on the side. So with that, I'm going to go grab my hot water, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So let's go ahead and take care of this first. Let's go ahead and heat up my custom He-Man last night that I had worked on. And the goal is to get the old cuff off, so we have room to put the new one on. Now, what I like to do is I like to use Ular's forearm, meaning his forearm's already bare. That way then I can just slide it over the top. I've seen some customizers sand around the old cuff off. You could do that, but it kind of makes a mess. I've also seen people take and actually cut both forearms off and reconnect them. That's the worst way you could do it. So let's go ahead and let this get nice and toasty warm. Now, I like to use boiling water as opposed to a heat gun. For one, it makes it heat up evenly. And two, the water helps as a lubricant to slide things off and on very easily. Now, I have used the heat gun before. If I'm doing a custom painted part, I will not put it in water because sometimes the water will ruin that custom paint. And then I will use a heat gun for that. When you use a heat gun, you want to keep moving whatever it is you're heating up over and over and over again, and then make sure that the heat is even all the way across it. So let's see if that's warm enough yet to pop that hand off. There we go. The hand's off. Now let's take off this cuff. There it is. You can see there I have Ular's forearm, and now it's ready to put the new piece on there. So to get this one off, we're going to put his arm in hot water and cut it off. So let's just soak him in there. Now this usually takes a few minutes of soaking because you want to get the rubber or plastic basically all the way through. And that might take a little bit of time to have the heat actually get all the way around the figure all the way. You can see I have it sit in the water. I am going to take his armor off though to put onto the figure. So while I'm waiting, I guess I can do that. So let's pull this back. That would be cool. All right. So let's check on that arm and see how it's doing. Oh, it's getting nice and rubbery soft. See how movable it is now? That's what we're looking for. You can pop this hand right off. Now the moment of truth, to cut off this hand. Now you want to cut it as close as you can without actually damaging it. So you want to get right up in there. Check the angle where it's at. Make sure you're not going to cut into the silver part you want to save. And then just slice it right off. There we go. So here's how it looks now that it's sliced off. And now I'm ready to start sanding it and bringing it down to fit over Ular's arm. So the first thing you want to do is some major sanding. So to do that, you want some kind of actual sanding part that's going to take it off pretty quickly. You want it rough. If you get it when it's too smooth, you'll be here too long doing it. And our goal on this is just to get, just to get this top surface right here off and smooth a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do is sand right up there. Now before you do any kind of rotary work, you want to always make sure you have your safety glasses available and ready. So put your glasses on, make sure you're safe. You want to set it on the slowest RPM. The reason for this is if it slips off, which it will slip off probably numerous times, you don't want it to hurt you too much. Now notice I'm angling this down into the hole, trying to create a divot so that when I use my other tool, I'll have a nice landing place to put it. So you can kind of see how I'm sanding that down, making it so it'll work. I'm going to go ahead and sand this off to the side so I can concentrate better on it. Alright, so this is what you're looking for. Something like this when you first sand it down, your first pass. Now your second pass, you're going to switch to a different kind of cutting tool. Something like this right here. Now, I have different ones. They're very similar. Just the angle's a little different on them. And the size is a little different. Just want to be careful you choose one that will work best for you. You can also feel the roughness on them, see which one's rougher and smoother. I'm going to start with this one right here. It's a little rougher. And go ahead and load that into my Dremel tool. And for this action, we're going to put it right into that divot spot that I created already. And then start sanding. I'll start it here so you can watch, but I'll come down lower and sand it somewhere else. And just do a little push to get it in there. And you can see how I kind of sanded it already to get started. From there, I'm going to work it all the way around until I free this cuff from the skin on the figure, the plastic. Sanding this, you want to sand it at an angle around the top, and this will allow you to eventually find that breaking area where it's going to come off. So remember to keep sanding around the top. You can see how it kind of looks now. It's just about done. Eventually I'm going to sand out this inside all the way to the rim as well. I'll show you that in a few minutes, but I'm going to keep sanding this, try to break this all free by sanding it. That's kind of the goal, is to get this all eventually free. Okay, you can see it's starting to break free from the cuff now. So you can kind of see how it just naturally comes off the cuff. I imagine when the Four Horsemen made this, just my guess, is that they probably had made this cuff separately and then slid it onto their figure before it was cast as one piece. So you're just going to keep going around the edge here. And as you do, it's going to slowly break off that last little bit and reveal that cuff to make it easy to install. All right. So you can see there, it's almost all off. Just a little more in this area will probably take it off. Maybe I'll do it in front of the camera, see if I can. All right, you can see now that cuff's just about free. So now I'm going to do this side right here, and this is a little tricky because it's going to want to keep catching, and just basically work it around the edge. All right, it's looking pretty good. I'm now going to thin out the walls a little bit in here. All right, it's just about done. There's a little more cleanup work, and then I'll show you guys the results in a minute. Now it's complete and ready to go. So now I can slide it onto Ular's arm. Now you'll notice the edges are not painted silver, and it's very tempting to paint it right now while it's out, because it'd be much easier to paint it. The bad part is when you slide it on this arm, and when it's hot and the rubber rubs together, you're going to find out that it's going to leave silver lines everywhere up and down the arm. Now it's kind of a tight fit right now, so I have to heat it up first. Let's plop it in our water. Now is also to heat up the Ular form it's going to go to. This will make it easier for it to slide on, and it will also get it wet, so it will also lubricate a little bit when you go to slide it on. Now again, our goal is to have the high part go towards the pin on the elbow. So not the elbow itself, but the pin towards the elbow. And then of course we'll go ahead and put this hand back on as well once we're done, which we're going to need to have that forearm hot to get this hand back in. This is all kind of tricky to do it all at once. The bummer part is now I have this other cuff that I have already done for the other side that I guess I can use it for some other figures some other time. It's kind of a cool little cuff. All right, so let's go ahead and see if this water is hot enough. Again, you want this just a little bit pliable. It's very pliable, so that water's hot enough. Let's fish out that cuff. And be careful, this is really hot. I got my stretcher tool. Here it is. I can put the cuff on there, and then use this to stretch it. Now when you stretch it, you don't want to stretch it cold. If you do, you'll just snap it. So put it back in the hot water, and then just do a slight little stretch on it. Just enough to stretch out that plastic a little bit. Turn it 90 degrees, put it back in the hot water, let it get nice and warm, and then go ahead and do your stretch. Again, not too much. You don't want to break it, nor do you want it to be too loose on them later on. So again, use the hot water and just continue doing that stretching once in a while. And again, be very careful not to damage it during these steps. Okay, looks like success. I got it on there. It looks pretty good. Lined up with that pin. A little more to get that hand back on. Okay. Now it's a lot harder to get the hand on now because that cuff is kind of holding it closed. All right, there we go. Look at that. There's our 2000 inspired classic He-Man. So if you guys want to vote, he'll be on Facebook. He'll be number 3. I'm going to repost him with the new cuff and the new armor. And you guys can then vote on Facebook and let me know which one of the 3 you like best of the 2000X inspired classic He-Mans. I almost forgot, really important step, the paint. So I like to use these pens right here, shaker pen, and just throw some silver paint in a spot. Works best using a paintbrush. Be very careful when you paint it. Just know that probably whatever brush you use will be destroyed afterwards. You just take and use some silver paint and touch up any spots on here, and then afterwards also repaint the whole entire cuff so it doesn't look yellowish. So you want more silver like this one, not so yellowish. All right, I'm sure you guys know how to paint. I'm not going to show you the details of what I'm doing, but again, you'll see it again on Facebook. If you like number 3 the best, vote number 3. If you like 2 or 1 the best, vote for those as well. I'm just curious what people think. All right, again, thanks for watching, and please subscribe and tell your friends. Bye now.